Good morning, principals and fellow teachers. Today I have come from the Department of Education to speak to the staff of Corolla State High School about recent events that have occurred throughout the suburbs. The events that I speak of are the Cronulla riots. My visit here today is to talk about the issues which have arisen throughout the school due to these events. And most of you would know, the past week, the media coverage has focused on the Cronulla riots. This has somehow influenced the students at Corolla State High to act in a manner that is not acceptable. Racism has increased within class groups and needs to be put an end to before it goes any further. Now Mr. Weldon has something to say about this.
Okay. Now, the reasons for why these events have occurred were due to the Australian public trying to make a protest against the recent violence that has occurred within the suburb, whom largely were built up of men whom were of Lebanese descent. This, however, was escalated due to the fact that the locals were intoxicated, causing racial thoughts and emotions to become more public. The Lebanese community was disgusted with these acts of racial abuse, which then led to retaliation attacks. The term race has typically been used to identify and label groups of people, to sort humans into categories and assign certain characteristics to all the people put into that category. Now, that was from McConich, Hollingsworth and Petman. Now, the Cronulla riots were mostly a build-up of the Sydney surfing community, Lebanese gang-associated individuals and the Lebanese community. Stereotypes became apparent within media and social groups. Some of these stereotypes would include bogan Australians, low socioeconomic groups and surfies. In terms of the Lebanese, majority of people thought of the persons involved as gang members. However, many of the victims of the Lebanese side were random attacks on civilians. Public pedagogies were a factor in the retaliations, as those involved in the riots immediately thought of innocent members of the other race as a threat, which in turn led to more violence. Now, if you could focus your attention to the screen, a small clip and pictures of the violence will be played.
Pulled up on E711 on Port North starting to walk towards the side of Kingsgrove.
Get this motherfucker swing back here for revenge. We're gonna the mothers. Now don't spit at it, bro.
Geweld en vergelding. De Australische autoriteiten proberen alles om dat mechanisme zo snel mogelijk te doorbreken. Afgelopen nacht had de politie van Sydney de handen vol aan jongeren van Arabische afkomst.
Just a Lebanese man, 6-7 car, get up in the street in my shop and tried to hit me and said, I'm gonna kill you.
Tijdens de rellen vielen enkele gewonden, onder wie 1 politieman.
I'm announcing today that the New South Wales Parliament will be recalled for a special emergency sitting on Thursday morning to provide the police with extra powers to deal with the criminals and thugs.
Hier bij een strand in Sydney sloegen afgelopen zondag voor het eerst de stoppen door.
You're not welcome. This is our land. Get the hell out.
De menigte was bijeen omdat enkele dagen eerder 2 strandwachten door Libanezen waren afgetuigd.
This is what our grandfathers fought for, to protect this so we can enjoy it. And we don't need these Lebanese to take it away from us.
Daarna ging de menigte iedereen met een Arabisch uiterlijk te lijf. En afgelopen nacht werd dat geweld dus beantwoord. Beide groepen hebben gezegd dat het hier niet bij zal blijven.
December 2005, nearby Cronulla Beach exploded onto newspapers around the world, courtesy of a shameful exchange between the local surf community and Sydney's Lebanese community. With police moving in to enforce a lockdown of Cronulla, convoys of youth from Sydney's inner suburbs staged retaliatory attacks on the surf community.
Yes, emergency. 4 weeks of George High Patrol. OSC cars deployed to Maroubra ASAP, please. So I think we might need some help here.
Maroubra Beach, although not part of the incident at Cronulla, was the target. With word of the reprisal attack circulating around the beach, the Bra Boys gathered to defend the area.
We only had a couple of minutes to prepare for the attack. We started getting calls that there was 150 armed men heading our way, smashing everything in their paths.
They just ran down the hill, a whole bunch of them, you know. Frog got to them first and said, fucking, take it easy, guys, and they just fucking battered him down.
He just went straight at him. He was the first guy to reach the whole gang. Next fired up was a wave of the fucking jiu-jitsu party, Sonny and that. Come up behind him. By the time they got there, fucking Frog was getting pumped.
Fucking what, 100 of them?
Mate, fucking nothing.
And then it just got into a running race, you know. They took off up the hill. The boys chased after him, caught up with a couple of them, and then, you know, they pretty much drove off. But fuck, they left a path of destruction.
Okay, now that you've all seen this footage and images, Mr. Ramirez has some information.
Hello, I'm the teacher of Home Group NK, which is class built up of grade 10, 11 and 12 students. And I've seen firsthand the damage that these grenade riots have caused in our classroom. When I'm on lunchtime duty, the effects that these riots have had are clear, for a reason that all the boys are now separated. The boys who are of Lebanese descent hang by the tuck shop in a large group, and the Caucasian boys all associate by the oval. Both groups clearly trying to avoid each other in any contact of any form of trying to talk to each other, because violence will occur. One of my students, Daniel, who is of Lebanese descent, has been a major target of racial provoked attacks, both verbal and physical, by other students in the class.
Okay. Hello Daniel, how are you today?
I'm doing better, right?
What's the problem?
Some of the students here have been treating me differently lately.
How so?
Some of the boys are singling out me and my friends.
Do you think that has anything to do with the riots?
More than likely, because before the riots we got along.
What has been happening that is making you so upset?
I'm copying a lot of verbal abuse because of my race and shit.
What type of things have they been calling you and your mates?
Stuff like terrorist, Lebo, Lebanese, kebab maker.
Do you know why?
No, not really, just came out of nowhere.
No. Can you tell me any other events that have happened at the school because of the riots?
Us Leb boys don't really associate with the white boys anymore, because it always ends up with us having a fight. The other day my mate Jimmy was walking home from school, and on his own, he was by himself, and he turned around and realised he was getting followed by the group of the white boys. Next thing you know, they jumped and bashed him until Jimmy's older brothers started running and tried to break it up. Jimmy hasn't been back to school since.
Do you and your friends ever retaliate against these boys?
Yeah, the next day we found the white boys and tried to start a fight with them, and we started punching on, but then the teachers broke us up.
Do you reckon that was appropriate behaviour in school?
Doesn't matter anymore, the school's got nothing to do with it. It's between the white boys and my boys. If there's trouble, what they want, then they'll fund it.
Do you know why it all started?
No, not really, but I'm going to be the one to finish it.
Well, the reason for all this was because of underlying racial issues that came to surface because of alcohol abuse. We will try our best as a school to stop these attacks, because it may not seem like it now, but being a victim of racial attacks can have an effect on you. A racist in the academic world today, we are accusing this person of believing in the hereditary biological superiority of people of one so-called race over people of another so-called race. The implication that discrimination is just justified, explained, rationalised by the underlying biological theory. That was from J.M. Blord. Sorry, Ramirez, what do you think about that?
As you can tell, we need to create strategies in order to avoid these racial issues within Cronulla State High. With the support of family, friends and the community, and as us teachers, we can create some type of method to benefit the students.
Now that this staff meeting is over, I want you three teachers to come up with a plan of action against the racial abuse that have occurred in our schools so we can help the students in our school. I'm sure all of you are aware of the recent events of the riots within our community. Has there been any noticeable changes within the classes that would concern you?
Well, students within my class are dividing into their own racial groups. I'm finding that this is mainly the boys who are doing this. This may be because of the social expectations and peer pressure from others. Even though I've organised the teams, they seem to move into their separate groups. So we'd have the Lebanese boys go to one side of the field, and then the white boys go to the other, and we'd have the other racial groups just stand off to the side wondering what to do. Now, within the competitive activities I've been running, the students are a lot more aggressive towards the opposition.
During my theory class, it has come to my attention that the students are lacking concentration and more focused on the hate and abuse towards each other rather than their studies. For example, undertoned insults have been heard during class and some objects have been thrown. I have a quote from Schmidt that racism might be seen in many locations as operating in multifarious ways and practices infantilization, denigration, distrust, ridicule, exclusion, rendering invisible, scapegoating, violence, which I feel is relevant to this discussion.
What do you believe is the best approach to combat these issues?
We should have a lesson where all the teachers come together and talk to the students about this matter by giving them a background check and putting it out all on the table to show and see how they understand it.
I believe the best approach within the prac lessons against the racism would be teamwork through non-contact sports, encouraging the students to mix together so they can create a bond as a team rather than a racial group. Currently the dominant groups in the classroom are clear. The Lebanese boys always play as a team against the Caucasian boys, and yeah, as I mentioned before, the other students just tend to decide as they are fearful that they will get involved within the violence. Now, the dominance, however, is more towards the Caucasian boys due to the fact that they have a greater population within the school. They seem to believe that being a white skin colour gives them this more authority over the Lebanese students, therefore asserting a white privilege. Now, this leads to them believing that they are the dominant group within the school. This is why by mixing teams, the students are encouraged to work together for the benefit of the team.
We could use this current event to our benefit to teach the essential learnings through our theory and practice lessons. For the knowledge and understanding, we can use the following points. Identity, health and well-being are interpreted and influenced by social and cultural factors. Developing teamwork, tactical knowledge and strategic thinking supports and enhances physical performance and participation in physical activities. The way of these working points that we could use are identifying risk and devise and apply safety practices, identify issues and inequities and plan investigations and activities. Select and apply positive and respectful, inclusive personal development skills and strategies. An example of how we could incorporate these points into our theory classes would be examining the Cronulla riots as a class group by using an inquiry-based approach and discussing the issues that have arisen from these events. A way we could utilize the points from previous theory lessons to connect the students within the practical lessons is to address differences between cultures, therefore creating an engagement and fun environment. Best way to approach this would be getting students to mix in team bonding games.
After special analysis of the event, us teachers have worked together on coming up with a strategy to overcome the issues that have arisen in our school. This strategy will hopefully help prevent the damage and racial slurs that these criminal riots have brought upon Cronulla State High.